wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the broken engine in front of him. It was alien technology, something from a species he had never worked with before. But that was his job. He fixed things. He had been fixing things since he was a boy on Earth, and now he fixed things on a space station far from home. Outpost 7 was not a beautiful place. It was metal and noise and the smell of fuel, but did not mind. He had no family waiting for him on Earth, no wife, no children. He had his tools and his work, and that was enough, or at least that was what he told himself. He was 32 years old, and he had been alone for a very long time. The message came on a cold morning. A ship had arrived at the station and they wanted a human mechanic. Not just any mechanic, they wanted the best. The station commander pointed at. They were a proud species. They ruled a vast empire across many star systems. Their skin was pale lavender, their hair silver like moonlight. They were tall and thin, with bodies like sculptures made of glass. They looked down on other species, especially humans. To them, humans were primitive, useful perhaps, but nothing more. Packed his tools and boarded the transport ship. He did not know why they wanted him. He did not ask questions. He just did his job. The journey took 3 weeks. Spent most of that time alone in his small room. The crew did not speak to him. They looked at him like he was a strange animal, something to be studied but not touched. When the ship landed, stepped out and saw the capital city for the first time. It was beautiful. Towers of white stone reached toward the purple sky. Gardens floated in the air, held up by technology he did not understand. Everything was clean and perfect. He felt very small. Guards took him to the imperial palace. The hallways were long and cold. His boots made noise on the marble floors and the sound echoed in the silence. Finally, they brought him to the throne room. Emperor sat on a throne made of crystal. He was old even by standards. His skin was pale, almost white, and his silver hair hung past his shoulders. His eyes were sharp and cruel. When he looked at, there was no warmth in his gaze, only amusement. So the emperor said, "This is the human mechanic." "Bowed, I am honored to serve your majesty." The emperor laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Honored? You should be honored. We have chosen you to work on the royal fleet. Our ships are the finest in the galaxy. Do not break them." "I will do my best, your majesty." The emperor leaned forward. His eyes glittered with something dark. "I have also decided to give you a gift, a companion to keep you company during your time here." "Did not understand. A companion." "My daughter," the emperor said. The court gasped. Whispers filled the room like wind through leaves. Stood frozen, confused. Why would the emperor give his daughter to a human mechanic? Then the emperor smiled and understood. This was not an honor. This was a joke. "Bring her," the emperor commanded. The doors at the side of the room opened. A young woman walked in, her head bowed low. She moved slowly as if every step caused her pain. When she reached the center of the room, she stopped and kept her eyes on the floor. Looked at her, and his breath caught in his throat. She was different from the other. Where they were thin like sticks, she had curves. Her hips were wide, her body soft. By standards, she was fat, ugly, a disgrace. But was not. He saw lavender skin that glowed like a sunset. He saw silver hair that fell around her shoulders like water. He saw a face that was gentle and sad and beautiful. She had the kind of beauty that painters on Earth spent their whole lives trying to capture. His heart began to beat faster. The emperor watched his face, waiting for disgust. The whole court watched, ready to laugh. They expected the human to be horrified. They expected him to reject this gift and prove that even primitive humans had better taste than to accept such a creature. But did not look horrified. He looked at the woman with wonder in his eyes. "Her name is," the emperor said, his voice dripping with mockery. "She is yours, do with her what you will." Flinched at her father's words. She waited for the rejection. She had been rejected her whole life. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father had never forgiven her for being born wrong, for being fat, for being ugly. She was a stain on the royal bloodline, and everyone knew it. She expected the human to laugh at her, to send her away, to prove once again that she was worthless. But then she heard his voice. "I am honored beyond words." His head snapped up. For the first time she looked at the human. He was not tall by standards. His skin was brown, his hair black. His hands were rough from work, but his eyes were warm, so warm, and he was looking at her like she was something precious. The court fell silent. Emperor's smile disappeared. This was not the reaction he had expected. The human was supposed to be disgusted. He was supposed to reject this worthless daughter and prove that she was unlovable even to primitives. But the human bowed deeply, his hand over his heart. "She is beautiful," said. "I do not deserve such a gift." Felt tears forming in her eyes. No one had ever called her beautiful, not once in her entire life. She did not know what to do, she did not know what to say. The emperor's face turned dark with anger. His joke had failed. Instead of humiliating his daughter and entertaining his court, he had given her to someone who actually wanted her. "Take them away," he growled. Guards stepped forward and led and out of the throne room. As they walked, glanced at the human beside her. He caught her eye and smiled. It was a small smile, simple, kind. And for the first time in many years, felt something like hope. The days that followed were strange for both of them. Was given a workshop near the royal docks. It was a large room filled with tools and machines. The royal fleet waited outside, sleek ships that shone like silver fish in the purple light of the sun. He spent his mornings working on engines and his afternoons studying technology. Was given a room near his workshop. It was small and plain, far from the beautiful chambers she had grown up in, but she did not mind. For the first time in her life, no one was watching her with disgust. No servants whispered behind her back. No nobles laughed when she walked past. She was invisible here, and invisible felt better than hated. For the first few days she stayed in her room. She did not know what to do. She did not know what the human expected from her. Her father had given her away like old furniture. She was a joke, a gift meant to insult. Surely the human would grow tired of her soon. Surely he would realize that she was worthless. But on the fourth day, there was a knock on her door. Stood outside holding a small box. "I made something for you," he said, "if you want it." Stared at him. No one had ever made anything for her. She took the box with trembling hands and opened it. Inside was a tiny bird made of metal. It was silver and gold, with wings that looked like they could really fly. When she touched it, the bird opened its beak and began to sing. The sound was soft and sweet, like the music her mother used to hum when was very young. Tears fell down her cheeks before she could stop them. "I am sorry," said quickly. "I did not mean to make you cry. If you do not like it, I can." "No," whispered. "I love it, no one has ever given me a gift before." Looked at her with gentle eyes. "Then I will give you many." That was the beginning. After that began visiting the workshop. At first, she just watched from the doorway. She watched take apart engines and put them back together. She watched him talk to himself while he worked, muttering about wires and fuel lines and things she did not understand. Then one day, he handed her a tool. "Hold this," he said. "I need both hands." She held the tool, and when he needed another, she handed him that one too. Soon she was helping him every day. She learned the names of parts. She learned how engines worked. She asked questions and answered them patiently. He never told her she was stupid. He never told her to go away. He treated her like she mattered. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat together on crates near the window. The purple sky was turning dark, and the stars were coming out. Pulled out a small device and showed her pictures from Earth. "This is where I come from," he said. Looked at the images. She saw blue oceans and green forests. She saw cities with tall buildings and small villages with red roofs. She saw mountains covered in snow and deserts covered in sand. Earth was so different from the. It was messy and wild and full of color. Then showed her something else: paintings, sculptures, photographs of human women throughout history. "These are what humans consider beautiful," he said. Looked at the images, and her breath stopped. The women had curves. They had soft bodies and round faces. They had hips and thighs and bellies that were not flat like sticks. They looked like her. "I do not understand," she said. "These women are fat." "No," said, "these women are beautiful. For thousands of years, humans have painted and sculpted women who look like this. Curves are not ugly to us. They are attractive. They are healthy. They are—" he paused, searching for the right word. "They are wonderful." Stared at the pictures for a long time. All her life she had been told she was ugly. All her life she had been told that her body was wrong. But here was proof that somewhere in the universe there were people who thought differently. "You really think I am beautiful?" she asked. Looked at her. "I thought you were beautiful the moment I saw you. You are the most beautiful woman I have ever met." Did not know what to say. Her heart was beating so fast she thought it might break free from her chest. She had spent her whole life hating her body. She had spent her whole life wishing she could be different. And now this human, this strange, kind human, was telling her that she was exactly what he wanted. "I do not know how to believe you," she whispered. "Then let me prove it," he said. "Every day I will show you. I will show you with my words and my actions. I will show you until you believe." From that night on, everything changed. Spent every day with. They worked together and talked together and ate together. He taught her about human food, and she taught him about history. He made her laugh with stories about his childhood on Earth. She made him smile when she learned to fix small machines on her own. The Emperor sent spies to watch them. He expected the joke to fall apart. He expected the human to grow bored or disgusted. But every report said the same thing: they were happy. The human treated the princess like she was precious. The princess was smiling. The princess was laughing. The Emperor did not understand. One night sat in her room and looked at the mechanical bird had made for her. It sat on her windowsill, singing its soft song. She thought about her father and the court and all the people who had called her ugly. She thought about. He was not handsome by standards. He was short and rough, and his hands were always dirty from work. But when he looked at her, she felt seen. When he spoke to her, she felt valued. When he touched her hand to show her how to hold a tool, she felt warm inside. She was falling in love with him. And for the first time in her life, she wondered if someone might love her back. 3 months passed, and the whispers in the palace grew louder. The nobles spoke in dark corners. They said that the emperor's joke had gone wrong. They said that his ugly daughter was being treated like a queen by the primitive human. They said that she walked differently now. She held her head high. She looked people in the eye. She was not afraid anymore. This was unacceptable. Emperor sat on his crystal throne and listened to the reports. His spies told him everything. The human had taught his daughter to fix machines. The human had shown her pictures from Earth. The human had told her she was beautiful. Beautiful, his worthless, fat, ugly daughter, beautiful. The emperor's hands curled into fists. He had sent to the human as an insult. He had expected her to be rejected and humiliated. He had expected to prove once and for all that she was unlovable. Instead, she was happy. Instead, she was growing stronger. Instead, his joke had become his shame. The court was laughing at him now. Not out loud, of course. No one would dare. But he could see it in their eyes. He could hear it in their whispers. The great emperor had tried to embarrass a human, and the human had won. Something had to be done. On a cold morning, guards arrived at its workshop. There were 10 of them, tall soldiers in silver armor. They grabbed and put chains on his wrists. "What is happening?" demanded. "I have done nothing wrong." You are accused of corrupting royal blood, the captain said. You will face trial before the emperor. They dragged him through the palace halls, saw them coming and ran after them, screaming, "Stop! What are you doing? He has done nothing." The guards ignored her. The throne room was full of nobles when they arrived. Everyone had come to watch. This would be entertainment. This would be justice. The human would finally be punished for making the emperor look foolish. Emperor looked down with cold eyes. You have been accused of corrupting princess. You have filled her head with lies. You have turned her against her own kind. The punishment for this crime is death. His blood went cold. I have done nothing wrong. I have only been kind to her. Kindness? The emperor laughed. You call it kindness. You told her she was beautiful. You filled her with false hope. You made her forget her place. Her place? His voice was angry now. Her place should be with people who love her. Her place should be somewhere she is valued. You treat her like garbage. You threw her away like she was nothing. And now you are angry because someone finally saw what she is worth. The court gasped. No one spoke to the emperor this way. No one. His face twisted with rage. You will be executed at sunrise. Take him away. No. The voice echoed through the throne room. Everyone turned to look. Walked forward. Her steps were steady. Her head was high. She was not the frightened, broken girl who had entered this room 3 months ago. She was someone new, someone stronger. I will not let you kill him, she said. The emperor stared at his daughter. You dare to defy me? Yes, said. For the first time in my life, yes. Stood up from his throne. You are nothing. You are a disgrace to this bloodline. You are fat and ugly and worthless. No one wants you. No one will ever want you. This human is a fool who does not know better. He is not a fool, said. He is the only person who has ever truly seen me. He is kind and gentle and good. He makes me laugh. He makes me feel like I matter. And I love him. The words hung in the air like smoke. The court was silent. Even the emperor seemed surprised. Love, said the word like it was poison. You think you know love, you know nothing. Guards, take them both. Wait, his voice was calm. I invoke the right of separation. The court erupted in noise. Nobles shouted and pointed. Some looked confused. Others looked shocked. The right of separation was an ancient law, something from the old times when the empire was young. No one had used it in centuries. Emperor's face went pale. You would not dare. I have studied our laws, said. The right of separation allows any member of the royal family to renounce their title. If I give up my blood right, I become a common citizen. And as a common citizen, I can claim any person as my bonded partner. You cannot touch him. You cannot touch us. You would give up everything, the emperor said. Your title, your wealth, your name for this primitive. Looked at, he was still in chains, his eyes wide with surprise. But even now, even in this terrible moment, he looked at her with warmth, with pride, with love. She turned back to her father. Everything I am giving up is worthless to me, she said. My title brought me nothing but pain. My wealth could not buy me a single friend. My name was a curse, not a blessing. I would rather be poor and free than rich and miserable. She took a deep breath. I, daughter of, renounce my title. I renounce my blood. I renounce my place in the royal line. I am no longer a princess. I am a citizen, and I claim as my bonded partner. The words were spoken. The law was ancient but unbreakable. The emperor could not undo what had been done. Stood frozen. His face was red with anger, but there was nothing he could do. The old laws protected her. The old laws protected them both. Get out, he said finally. His voice was quiet but deadly. Get out of my palace. Get out of my empire. You are exiled, both of you, forever. If I ever see your faces again, I will kill you myself. Guards removed the chains from his wrists. He walked to and took her hand. Are you sure about this? He whispered. You are giving up everything. Squeezed his hand. No, she said. I am finally gaining everything. Together they walked out of the throne room. The nobles watched in silence. The emperor sat back on his throne, his hands shaking with rage. His joke had destroyed him. His worthless daughter had won. And as An stepped out of the palace into the cold morning air, they did not look back. The first night of exile was the hardest. And had nothing. The emperor had given them no money, no food, no supplies. They walked through the streets of the capital city in the clothes they wore, carrying only what had in his pockets, a few tools, some coins, and the small mechanical bird he had made for. They found shelter in an old warehouse near the docks. It was cold and dirty, but it was safe. They sat on the concrete floor, their backs against the wall, and watched the stars through a broken window. "I am sorry," whispered. "I have ruined your life." Turned to look at her. "What are you talking about? You had a good job. You were respected. Now you have nothing because of me." Laughed softly. "I had a job, yes, but I was alone. I fixed machines all day and went back to an empty room at night. I ate alone. I slept alone. I had no one who cared if I lived or died." He took her hand. "Now I have you. That is worth more than any job." His eyes filled with tears. "But where will we go? What will we do?" "I have friends," said. "Human mechanics who work on the trade routes. They owe me favors. We will find a ship. We will leave space. We will start a new life somewhere else. What if no one wants us?" Smiled. "Then we will keep looking until someone does." It took 3 days to find a ship. Old friend, a cargo pilot named, agreed to take them to human territory. He asked no questions. He just looked at and nodded. "Love makes people do crazy things," said. "Get on the ship." The journey took 2 weeks. Had never traveled on a human ship before. It was smaller than ships, noisier and rougher, but the crew was kind. They shared their food with her. They taught her card games. They laughed at her jokes, even when her jokes were not very good. She had never felt so welcome in her life. Watched her come alive during those weeks. She smiled more. She talked more. She stopped flinching when people looked at her. She had lived in a palace but felt like a prisoner. On this small, dirty cargo ship, she was finally free. They arrived at a frontier colony called New. It was a young settlement on a rocky planet with twin moons. The buildings were simple, metal and concrete, nothing like the crystal towers of. The streets were muddy. The air smelled like fuel and cooking food. It was ugly by any standard. But when stepped off the ship and felt the wind on her face, she smiled. "It is perfect," she said. They found a small building near the market and turned it into a repair shop. Fixed human machines, fixed alien ones. Word spread quickly. The new mechanics were good, very good. Soon they had more work than they could handle. The people of New were rough. Miners, farmers, traders, refugees. They came from everywhere, running from everything. They did not care They did not care that she was different. They only cared that she could fix their machines and that she did it with a smile. For the first time, was valued for what she could do, not judged for how she looked. Months passed, the shop grew, they hired workers, they made friends. On festival nights they danced in the streets with their neighbors. On quiet nights they sat on the roof and watched the twin moons rise. One such night, reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I made something for you," he said. Laughed. "You are always making things for me." "Open it." She opened the box. Inside was a ring. It was simple, made from recycled metal and a small purple stone that matched her skin. It was not beautiful by standards. It was not grand or expensive. But it was made with love. "I know I am not a prince," said. "I am just a mechanic. I have nothing to offer you except my hands and my heart. But if you will have me, I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Looked at the ring. She thought about all the things she had lost. Her title, her home, her family. She thought about her father's cruel words and her lonely childhood and all the years she had spent believing she was worthless. Then she looked at This man who had seen her when no one else would. This man who had taught her to believe in herself. This man who had given up everything to be with her. Yes, she said. They were married under the twin moons with their neighbors as witnesses. There was no palace, no royal ceremony, no expensive clothes. Just two people who loved each other, standing together in the light of the stars. 1 year later, they had a daughter. They named her, which meant flower in the old Earth language. She had her mother's lavender skin and her father's warm brown eyes. She was beautiful and she was loved. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Emperor received troubling news. His advisors came to him with pale faces. "Your Majesty, we have discovered something, Princess." She was the only one, the only royal child with the ancient gift that allowed royalty to interface with the old technology, the weapons built by their ancestors, the weapons that could destroy fleets with a thought. Without those weapons were useless. Without, the Empire was vulnerable, and was the only one who had it. The Emperor sat on his throne and felt something he had not felt in a long time: fear. He had thrown away his greatest weapon. He had called it worthless. He had called it ugly. And now it was gone. 3 years had changed everything. The repair shop had become the most successful business in New, and worked side by side every day, fixing machines from 100 different worlds. Their daughter played on the floor of the workshop, building towers out of spare parts while her parents worked. Life was good, life was simple, life was everything had ever wanted. Then the ships arrived. There were 3 of them, sleek and silver, floating above the colony like predators watching prey. The people of New gathered in the streets and pointed at the sky. No one knew what to do. They had never come here before. Stood in front of his shop with his family behind him. His heart was beating fast. He knew who had sent those ships. He knew they had not come in peace. A shuttle landed in the main square. The doors opened and 3 nobles stepped out. They wore robes of white and silver, and their faces were stiff with pride. But there was something else in their eyes, something had never seen in a before. Desperation. The leader of the group bowed deeply. "We come with a message from Emperor. We bring gifts and an offer of peace." "I do not want gifts from my father," said. Her voice was cold. "And I do not believe in his peace." The noble flinched but continued. "Your Highness, the Empire is in danger. An ancient enemy has returned. The Void Swarm, they are destroying our colonies. They are killing our people. In 3 months they will reach the..." His expression did not change. "That is not my problem." "Please," the noble said. "You are the only one who can activate the old weapons. Without them, billions will die." Watched his wife. He could see the conflict in her eyes. He knew her heart. She was not cruel. She could not ignore suffering, even if that suffering belonged to people who had hurt her. But she was also not foolish. "What does my father offer?" asked. "Everything," the noble said. "Your title restored, wealth beyond measure. You will be named heir to the throne. You will rule the empire after him." Laughed. It was not a happy sound. "He threw me away like garbage. He called me ugly and worthless. He tried to kill the man I love, and now he wants me to save him." "He was wrong," the noble said. "He knows that now." "Does he, or does he just need something from me?" The noble had no answer. That night sat on the roof was sleeping in her room, the mechanical bird singing softly beside her bed. The twin moons hung in the sky like 2 bright eyes. "What should I do?" asked. Thought for a long moment. "You know what I think? I think you are not the same person you were 3 years ago. You are not the broken girl your father threw away. You are strong now. You are whole. Whatever you choose from a place of power, not weakness. But billions of people will die. Children, families, people who never hurt me." "That is true," said. "But this is not about your father. This is about you. What kind of person do you want to be?" Looked at the moons. She thought about her childhood. She thought about the pain and the loneliness and the years of hating herself. She thought about all the people who had laughed at her, mocked her, treated her like she was nothing. Then she thought about the children on those colonies, children who had done nothing wrong, children who would die in fire and darkness because an ancient enemy had awakened. She made her choice. The next morning she told the nobles she would help, but she had conditions. She would not stay. She would activate the weapons and leave. She would not take her father's money or his title or his throne. She would not pretend that everything was forgiven. She would save the empire because it was the right thing to do, not because she owed anyone anything. The nobles agreed to everything. The journey to the took 2 weeks, brought her family with her. She would not face her father alone. She would not let him think she was weak. Emperor was waiting in the throne room. He looked older than remembered. His silver hair was thin and his skin was pale. The cruelty in his eyes had faded, replaced by something that might have been regret, or might have been fear. He looked then at the child in his arms, his granddaughter, the first royal child born outside the empire in 1,000 years. "You came," said. "I came for the innocent," replied, "not for you." She walked past him without bowing, without fear. She was not his daughter anymore. She was not his property. She was a free woman and she would act like one. The ancient weapons were deep beneath the palace, in chambers that had not been opened in centuries. Placed her hands on the control panel. She felt the old technology reach out to her, recognize her, welcome her. It felt like music. It felt like light. It felt like everything she had been told she could not have. She activated the weapons. Across the galaxy, the void swarm faced destruction. Ancient ships rose from worlds, powered by technology so old that no one remembered who had built it. They fired beams of pure energy that burned through the enemy like fire through paper. In hours it was over. The void swarm was destroyed. The empire was saved. Removed her hands from the panel and turned to face her father. "It is done," she said. Emperor stepped forward. For a moment he looked like he might say something kind, something true, but old habits are hard to break and pride is the hardest habit of all. "You should stay," he said. "You should take your place. You are my heir now." Shook her head. "I have a place, it is not here." She walked back to her husband and her daughter. She took his hand and looked at his sleeping face. "Thank you for saving us," said quietly. I know I do not deserve your help." Paused at the door. She looked back at her father one last time. "You are right," she said. "You do not, but I did not do this for you. I did this for the people you rule. Try to deserve them even if you could not deserve me." She left without another word. The journey home felt shorter than the journey there. Maybe it was because heart was light. Maybe it was because she knew she had done the right thing. Or maybe it was because she was going back to the place where she belonged. When the ship landed on Nu, the whole town was waiting. Word had spread. Everyone knew what had done. Everyone knew she had saved billions of lives. But she did not want speeches or celebrations. She just wanted to go home. She walked through the streets within. People smiled and waved, but no one stopped her. They understood. When they reached the shop, stood in the doorway and looked around. The tools hanging on the walls, the machines waiting to be fixed, the small kitchen where they ate dinner every night. It was not a palace. It was not grand or beautiful. But it was home. Came up behind her and put his arms around her waist. "Welcome back," he said. Leaned against him and smiled. "I never left," she said. "This is where I belong. This is where I have always belonged." Ran inside and started playing with her spare parts. The mechanical bird sang on the windowsill. Outside, the twin moons were rising. Emperor had sent his Heavyset daughter as a joke. He had expected to humiliate her and entertain his court. Instead, he had given her freedom. He had given her love. He had given her everything she ever wanted. And in the end, the joke was on him.